Babbel versus Duolingo. At the end of this video, you'll know which one is more likely to make you fluent in the language that you're trying to learn. In addition, I'm going to show you exactly what kind of level you can expect to reach after finishing Babbel or after finishing Duolingo. I'm going to use my own experience of learning multiple languages to pretty high levels like English and Japanese. I'm actually a native French speaker, and I'm going to talk about different aspects of Babbel and Duolingo, things like vocabulary, speaking, grammar, and the cost of different plans. And by the way, all the links I have found are in the description box of this video. All right, I want to first start with Babbel, and I want to talk about how Babbel works. Babbel actually has pretty short lessons. It's going to be 10 to 15 minutes. It's really a blended approach with very short drills. A typical lesson would include things like listening to phrases and then repeating them, vocabulary flashcards, fill in the blanks for a conversation, a dialogue, and grammar exercises. There are lots of other drills and a lot of variety in general. Now, I want to talk about my personal experience with Babbel, and overall, my experience has been very positive. One of the main differences between Babbel and Duolingo is that Babbel is actually going to give you a lot of grammar. Well, I don't mean like a ton of grammar, but they're definitely going to give you some grammar, whereas Duolingo is almost never going to talk about grammar. And in Babbel, what I like is that you're not going to be presented with walls of text. It's going to be woven into the lesson in a very subtle way that doesn't make you sort of bored. Another difference between Babbel and Duolingo is that Babbel is going to use phrases in a more natural way. And I think this is somewhat unexpected, but Duolingo is probably the biggest app on in the world, on the internet, for learning languages, and yet it actually has sentences that sound pretty unnatural. I have found people actually reporting online that they actually had very weird sentences like "my horse collects teeth," or "my parents do not like that you eat ants," or stuff like that. Very strange. And I would say in general that Babbel just feels a little bit more curated than Duolingo. I think the other major difference between Babbel and Duolingo is that Babbel is going to put more emphasis on speaking. With Duolingo, you're just going to repeat words and phrases. With Babbel, it's a little bit different in the sense that speaking drills are actually going to be incorporated into the lesson. But, in any case, I would say that neither Babbel nor Duolingo are particularly great for speaking. Like, Babbel is okay, but there are other pretty good alternatives. If you want me to make a video on the best language learning apps for speaking, please leave me a comment down in the comment section. All right, now I want to talk about Babbel Live classes. So Babbel actually has a service called Babbel Live, and essentially what you're going to get with Babbel Live, and this is a separate service from like just a normal Babbel subscription. Babbel Live as something else that you can get. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but what you get is live classes where it's like small groups, a maximum of 6 students, and it's going to be 1 hour. And Duolingo actually had something similar called Duolingo classes, but they don't do it anymore. And so Babbel's live classes are going to be about different topics, and there are many time slots depending on you can actually take classes on weekends or on weekdays after work, etc. And overall, this is going to be more expensive than Babbel. Once again, you're going to have to pay some additional money for Babbel Live, but if you really take a lot of classes, because you get an unlimited number of classes, it's actually very affordable. So if you really like live classes and interacting with a teacher to learn a language, this is a really good deal. All right, now let me talk about what level you can expect to reach once you've finished Babbel. Now, Babbel on their website says that you can actually reach the C1 level, which is a pretty good level, at the end of their program. But there's another page on their website where they say that, for like the big programs like French, Spanish, Italian, a lot of these, very popular languages, you can expect to learn up to 3,000 words. And so 3,000 words is definitely not C1. 3,000 words is going to be about B1. C1 is about, 6,000 words if I'm not mistaken. So with Babbel, if you finish a program, you can expect approximately, and this is based just on the number of words that you're going to learn, Of course, there are many other factors, but you can expect about B1, which is an intermediate level. Now, before we talk about Rosetta Stone, I want to quickly talk about cost and compare the pricing of Babbel and Duolingo. Babbel specifically actually runs on a system where they have a lot of discounts. What I like to do is actually keep track of all the best discounts that I find. So if you want to find out whether Babbel has like discounts currently, I'm going to include all the links that I find in the description box. So check out the description box to see if there are currently any discounts on Babbel. Now, Babbel has 5 different, subscription plans ranging from about $7 to $14 a month. And there is also a lifetime plan where it's about $300, and you just pay, $300 once and you get access to all languages for life. Now, Duolingo is, free, but there's actually a paid plan for Duolingo. It's called Super Duolingo, where you get additional stuff. And essentially what you get is unlimited hearts. I'm going to talk about that in a second. You also get, no ads. So you're not going to have ads on the Duolingo website, which can be pretty annoying, or in the app you're not going to have ads either. So with Super Duolingo, there are 2 options. You can get the plan for like $7 a month, or you can get like the family plan where you can give the account to up to, I think it was like something like 6 family members, and this is going to be from $10 a month. Now overall, Babbel and Duolingo in this price range, it's going to be more affordable than most language learning apps. Like there are apps out there that cost like from $20 a month and even more than that. With Babbel and Super Duolingo, there's a money back guarantee, so there's really no risk if you want to try them out. All right, now let's move on to Duolingo. And first I want to talk about how Duolingo works. So Duolingo is pretty similar to Babbel actually. And the first similarity is that it has about, 10-minute lessons. And each lesson is going to have about 10 to 15 very short drills. It's going to be, listening drills, fill in the blank exercises, matching pairs, writing sentences, completing mock conversations. And, overall, this is very similar to Babbel. Now let me talk about my thoughts on Duolingo, because up until now I've said that Duolingo is pretty similar to Babbel, so why would you want to pay for Babbel? There are definitely some differences which push me to think that Babbel is actually a better option. So Duolingo has a free tier, which is pretty extensive. As a matter of fact, I think that probably 99% of people use the free tier. And this is not like an official statistic or anything. I think that 99% of people that I know use the free tier. And look, like at the end of the day, Duolingo works with ads. This is how they make their money, and there are really a lot of ads. Like this can actually be pretty annoying, especially if you're using the app. Now, I think the most problematic point for me with Duolingo is not necessarily that the ads are annoying. I think the business model is sort of dubious in a sense, because if you think about Babbel, right? With Babbel, you're paying a subscription fee, and you're telling Babbel, okay, I'm paying for your app and I want you to make me fluent. With Duolingo, what you're doing, you're not paying any money, but they're putting a bunch of ads on the app and on the website, and you're telling them, okay, I'm going to learn languages with you, and in exchange, I'm going to look at, those ads. Now, the problem here is that, with Babbel, you're paying them money to learn a language, so there's a direct incentive for them to make the program as efficient as possible. Whereas with Duolingo, the business model is such that the objective of Duolingo is to present to you as many ads as possible and make sure that you spend as much time as possible on the website and in the app. And using the language learning app for a long time is good, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're learning a lot. Also, one thing that I find pretty annoying with Duolingo is the hearts. I mean, this is really annoying, and you have a limited number of hearts and you lose 1 heart every time that you make a mistake. And so I found that actually for most people, including myself, when you run out of hearts, then you can replenish your hearts by reviewing old stuff. But for most people, including myself, I'm just going to give up for the day. I mean, that's it. Now, one good aspect of Duolingo, because it's not all bad, is that I feel like the gamification and just the interface in general is actually pretty good. It's very motivating. It's pretty sleek. It just works really well. But still, it can really get boring with Duolingo. All right, now what level can you expect to reach once you finish a Duolingo course? words. It's hard to know how many words you'll really be able to learn in an entire course. To my knowledge, there's no data on this, and Duolingo has not released any statement regarding the number of words that you're supposed to know after an entire course. But judging from the information I was able to get, it should be about similar to Babbel. So you're going to reach about a B1 level for most languages. Now, the thing is, again, Duolingo does not have much of a focus on speaking. It also does not have much of an emphasis on grammar at all. So you're going to have sort of a gap here in speaking and grammar where you're not going to reach a B1 level, but rather an A1 or A2 level. All right, so what is my verdict here? I think overall, Babbel is a lot more polished. It's a more solid option compared with Duolingo. And look, I think Duolingo is great because the free tier is really excellent and you don't have to pay for anything. It makes language learning really accessible. But at the end of the day, with Babbel, you're going to have a greater focus on speaking, which for me personally, this is like a top priority when I'm learning a language. And the grammar is going to be very important as well so that I can actually understand how the language is structured. Also, Babbel is just going to be more consistent in terms of giving you, good translations. And eventually, I think that, Babbel Live is just a great tool if you're willing to pay for it. Once again, I've put all the links to the best discounts I could find on Babbel and Duolingo in the description box down below. And also, if you're interested, I made a video on the best language learning apps. So click on this if you're interested. And if not, I'll see you in the next one.